Hello, welcome back. In today's video, I want to walk you through the process of making a wooden spoke shave. I have an ebony block of wood that's about 12 inches long by 1 inch thick by about 1 1/4 inches wide. I've ordered a blade from Hock Tools, which comes with pre-mounted threaded rods and 2 brass set screws. A scratch awl or a center punch will be really helpful in the beginning of this process. Also, the layout tools, straight edge or a square, a ruler, a pencil, and a scoring knife. I've also included a scribe, and then for a little bit of the process we'll use a file in order to shape and finish the work, and as always, just a good hand saw or crosscut saw for doing a lot of the layout work. I'll show you how to use the drill press. I'll also use a handheld router in order to precisely machine this to fit in. The spoke shave is one of my favorite instruments to use. With the blade mounted into the sole and adjusted to the proper setting, it should produce thin, even wood shavings. The first thing that we want to do is measure and mark the center. This being about 12 inches long, we'll make a mark at 6 inches. So strike a mark at the center of this blank, and everything will be measured and marked and laid out from the center line. Having marked the center line, measure out approximately 2 inches from either end. This is roughly the spacing for the threaded inserts. I like to use a square to make sure that everything is lined up left to right, and then measure down about 1/4 inch and make a crosshair. And this is where we'll drill the holes. I use a center punch to make sure that the drill bit finds that point accurately. Drill bits tend to wander a bit, so I've used a brad point drill bit to drill these pilot holes. The brad point bit has a point that follows that mark from the awl perfectly. I drill about halfway through, and then I finish the cut from the other side to create a nice clean opening without tearing out. Once the holes are drilled, you can install the blade and mark the blade carefully. I mark all the way around the perimeter, remove the blade, and make your marks to cut the relief portion that allows for the ejection of the wood chips when you're using the tool. This angle should accommodate the blade and the wood shavings and be easy to clear out, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I always mark the waste material so that I remember what side of the line to cut on. Here I've drawn several lines in order to give my saw kerf a chance to do most of the work, and then I'll use the chisel to clear all that material away. A Dozuki crosscut saw is an excellent choice for making the kerf cuts, and I'll make a series of kerf cuts all the way across. And I try to cut down as close to that bottom pencil line as I can. Use a chisel to clear out the waste material, and then very carefully detail carve and flatten that opening. Switch to a file to refine and clean up that edge, and a router in order to flush mount the blade. You want that blade to be flush with the base of the wood, perhaps a little inset even, and you can always adjust that blade spacing with set screws. Do a little cleanup work after the router with a chisel. Pare away any waste material. And then I do a test fit. You might have to do this over and over again just to make sure. It's always good to creep up on your pencil line so you don't remove too much material. Take your time, take it slow. Try to get a nice machine fit. Once the fit of the blade is done, it's actually a functioning tool. You could use it as is, just to make the tool look and feel a little more comfortable in the hand when you're operating it. You can cut handles into the blank. And this is what I'm doing here with the bandsaw. The handles can be rough cut with the bandsaw. And the more accurate you are with the bandsaw, the easier the finishing work will be later on. This rough cut bandsaw mark will have to be sanded and filed. So you want to be as even and careful as you can. It's always a good idea to just go slow, take your time, follow your line. So here I have a drum attachment for my drill press. It allows me to make contour sanding, shapes and curves. So I'll rough sand that, and then I'll switch to a file, and I'll round over the edges with a file. This is the tool in use. It's really satisfying when the blade is tuned up and sharpened. It makes beautiful cuts. It's just a lovely tool to work with.